So let's briefly talk about TSH, but this one now is not the physiology. The physiology of TSH is very sweet because you just simply know that what TSH acts on the thyroid hormone on the thyroid gland to now produce a T3 or T4. All right. But looking at the biochemistry, you are kind of like trying to look in depth to what TSH means. Okay. You want to look at the structure, you want to look at the composition. Do you understand? So the biochemistry of TSH is quite tough. And that's what we'll be breaking down in this lecture. So the exam question was what? Write on the thyroid hormone. But this question was asked in the biochemistry exam. So you don't actually what? Take up the discussion 100% in physiology and bringing it here. You have to actually talk like a biochemist. Okay? So looking at this, we'll be talking about this TSH. I'll be talking about the structure, talking about the synthesis. Okay? Talking about the functions, talking about the mechanism of action, its effect on thyroid gland, the regulation, and the clinical significance. All right. So for the function, okay, no, we're starting wrongly. For the structure, we said that TSH is a glycoprotein hormone. You must actually start like that. You must take the type of hormone that it is. It's a glycoprotein, so it is composed of what? Alpha units and beta units. Okay, so for the alpha unit, it has what? 92 amino acid consisting of the alpha units. So every other thing, you just leave it out. For the beta unit, it has what? 118 amino acid. Okay, so one thing is you should know that the beta units, all the composition of the beta units is specific to the TSH, but the composition of alpha subunit is now common. It's the same type of alpha units that is found in FSH, that's follicle stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone, and the human human chorionic gonadotrophin or something. Okay, but the beta unit is now specific to it. Are we done with that? Let's move to the synthesis. The TSH is produced by the thyrotroph cells in the anterior pituitary gland. Okay, so it actually acts. It is produced in the anterior. Okay, you see, this is a pituitary gland, right? If you divide the pituitary gland, at the back is the posterior pituitary gland, at the front is the anterior pituitary gland. Okay, so at the anterior pituitary gland is where TSH is produced from the thyroid releasing hormone. The thyroid releasing hormone acts on the pituitary gland. It releases TSH. TSH will act on the thyroid gland to release T3, T4, and calcitonin. Do you understand? Okay. So moving now, it is produced by thyrotroph cells in the anterior pituitary gland. Okay. You could just leave it there. Just leave it there at your level. Just leave it there. Produced by the thyrotroph cells in the anterior pituitary gland. Full stop. Okay. Then moving to the functions. Of course, it stimulates the thyroid gland to produce and release what? Thyroid hormones. So you could just say T3 and T4. Leave it. Or you could still what? Include the calcitonin. All right. So you could just say what? It stimulates the thyroid gland to release thyroid hormones. You put in bracket T3 and T4 and calcitonin. Because calcitonin is not a thyroid. It's not really, okay, it's a different type of hormone. Okay. So now it regulates thyroid growth and differentiation. That's in development. It also inhibits thyroid gland activity when T3 and T4 levels are high. The levels are high, the body no longer needs them. So it will now what? Regulate so that the activities will stop. Just tell thyroid gland that okay, stop releasing. Not really tell thyroid gland, it will stop going to thyroid gland. So thyroid gland will now what? Stop producing T3. Because one thing leads to another thing. Mechanism of action is it binds to what? Thyroid stimulating hormone receptors on the thyroid follicular cells. You know, we have the follicular cells in the thyroid and we have the parafollicular cells, right? So this will now activate what? G protein coupled receptor signaling, all right? And this will increase what? CAMP production. So also now we are now talking about what? We are now simply talking about the pathway for what do they call it? Water soluble hormones, right? Where it comes, it binds on the outside, activates CAMP, activate protein kinase A and the rest. Okay, so that's just what we're trying to repeat here. So talking about the effects on thyroid gland now, all right? It increase iodide uptake. So now we're now talking about the synthesis of what? Thyroid hormone, right? So you need to know the synthesis of thyroid hormone too. Increases iodide uptake, enhances what? Thyroglobin synthesis, stimulates what? Thyroid peroxidase activity. Then it will now what? Increase the release of what? T3 and T4 into circulation, right? Regulation now, it is regulated by the what? HPT axis. So HPT axis is the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. Let me just take my time to um, explain that. Okay, let me use this image. It's quite neat. From where this thyroid releasing hormone is coming from is from the what? Hypothalamus, right? If TSH is needed, the hypothalamus will generate this thyroid releasing hormone to act on the anterior pituitary hormone gland, to now release TSH. Okay, so that means if TSH is in excess, the instructions will actually come from the hypothalamus and to stop producing what? The thyroid releasing hormone. So now TSH will be reduced in circulation. Okay, so it is regulated by the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. Okay, so the thyroid releasing hormone stimulates TSH release. If the thyroid releasing hormone is not released, TSH levels will reduce. Okay, so that's a regulation. Then autoimmune regulation is from what? Thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins. These ones, they will stimulate TSH receptors. So if they are not there, the receptors will not be stimulated. Okay. Clinical significance. In hypothyroidism, if you send a test to the lab, you know that TSH levels will return what? Increased. I don't know if you understand. TSH levels will be increased because what? Thyroid hormone is needed in the body, but it is not being produced. So you have a lot of what? Thyroid stimulating hormone that is not being able to act on the thyroid gland to produce thyroid hormone. Okay, so the levels will be increased. In the hyperthyroidism, there's too much thyroid in the body, so TSH is not needed, so the levels will be low. Okay, so I think that's just it for thyroid stimulating hormone biochemistry.